Sherri, I'm so glad to have you here today. And there's so many questions I have. You play such an integral role in PhillyCURE HD. I think it would be helpful to start off with a little bit about your background and then to all the ways that you work with Center of Excellence as well as the local PhillyCURE HD group. Tell us a little bit about how you came here to this position.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. So I have been a licensed social worker for well over 20 years. In the last few years, I've also become a licensed clinical social worker. My previous experience before PhillyCURE HD had been primarily in hospice palliative care and medical case management. And there was an opportunity for me to be home with my children. However, I really love working with people. And I found PhillyCURE HD. It was the perfect place for me to land. And I come to love this population. I had never worked with the HD community prior, which was so surprising given I worked in hospice and palliative care for 11 years and had never run across an HD patient. So this was really a learning and growing experience for me, but it's been so very rewarding.
Yeah. So there's several different pieces to your work. And I think that the piece that I became familiar with first was the support groups. And I have participated in some of those support groups. I come from an HD family, and there's a lot of curiosity I had, and also a need for support because I had family members that were dealing with Huntington's disease. I guess that you have two different support groups. You have one for those who are caregivers and one for
Yep.
those who are
Diagnosed. It is for those who are gene positive, diagnosed. Right now, the group is primarily those who have been diagnosed and are now affected by HD.
And that's an important distinguishment because they may have diagnosis because that's what's happened with genetic testing. People are finding out early on, but they may not be
Right.
symptomatic and they may not be ready to engage in a support group, which is, I think, one of the aspects of HD Awareness Month. And we're going to get to that in a minute, like why we're even here today, trying to make people more aware. But certainly for young people or anyone that's going through genetic testing, they may not be ready to join a support group until they begin to really have symptoms that they don't want to talk to other people that are going through it. So that is a different group. Is that an in-person group, or do you also do that online?
Online. Both groups are virtual. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing in-person groups. We switched to virtual, and virtual has worked out because it gives opportunity to more people in different locations. For my caregiver group, I have someone who joins from the Baltimore area, central Pennsylvania. That wouldn't happen if I was in person. And also, a caregiver sometimes can't get out of their house for the hour for group, let alone the travel time. So this makes it really accessible, which I think is so important for this community.
Yeah. We had in some of the caregiver groups, there were couples, the partner who was the caregiver as well as the patient. It's also an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that is how it began when I first came on board with PhillyCURE. It was a general support group. And I separated so that is the caregivers and the HD, so that it's complete separation. That way, both parties are freer to speak. I found that was really, really an important move to make because otherwise people are censored.
I think it's important to talk a little bit about the mission of the PhillyCURE HD because it, to me, is distinguished by this sense of community building, which I think your role is right at the center of that, being able to connect people with each other.
So very excited. We just recently updated our mission statement, and Nancy, you were part of that. So the mission now is to connect the HD community in the Mid-Atlantic region through individualized support, advocacy, education, and research, as well as funding for the Penn HD Center of Excellence's medical care, therapies, and social services.
Yes. So there's the part about the connecting, which is not feeling alone. And I tell the story in my HD Awareness Month story about really having to find someone to help me understand the disease. That was back in 2006. But I think some things have changed since then, but not a lot. I think there's still a lot of people who are learning. Maybe you can share a little bit about that. They learn about the disease, but maybe they just don't understand it or don't know what it is. They come to the group and
Mhm.
it's eye-opening to them.
Is opening. It is, especially for the folks who have not had a known history of HD in their family. When the illness pops up, it's the first generation in their family. There's a lot of unknown mystery around the disease, confusion. So I think that the group is especially important for those individuals who have not encountered HD previously.
There's just particularly for caretakers, there's a lot of
Yeah.
uncertainty of, am I going to be able to handle this and what's coming down the road? And I have to say that overall, just the experience of learning from other caretakers has been just tremendous help. It is, I think, for everyone, excuse me, particularly for the primary, which I have not, at certain points I was, but not being the daughter and the sister of the
Right.
patients. It's a little bit of a different role, but it is
Hmm.
extremely important to see the way the primary caregiver is able to adapt because things keep changing. I think the connection and the community is the big piece of PhillyCURE HD. But I'm also been thinking about how it's connected to the Center of Excellence at the University of Penn. And if you could talk about that and how that sort of works together, it gives those families a connection and hope with some of the research and care that's there available for them.
I have been going to the clinic since 2019. PhillyCure donates my time to spend at the clinic, and I am there as a volunteer, and I just help out wherever possible, whether it's with getting patients roomed, maybe sometimes sitting with someone if there's a long wait, checking in, sharing about PhillyCure's resources, collaborating with the staff. I have a very good working relationship with the social worker. We often will case consult together, sharing resources. It's been a really wonderful part of my job. And importantly, PhillyCure is also able to grant different projects at Penn. We have most recently assisted funding the new psychiatrist. And psychiatry is such an integral and important part of someone's HD journey. And not all Center of Excellences have a psychiatrist on staff. So we are very fortunate in this region to have a psychiatrist on staff. They also have chaplaincy, which we assisted with piloting that program, that all caregivers and patients have access to a chaplain if they should so want that. We also helped fund a positive psychology program for people pre-symptomatic gene positive in hopes that they will have a better outcome dealing with their symptoms and their HD journey progresses. So these have all been really amazing, tangible services that PhillyCure has helped fund.
Yeah. And I think that the part of what's happening this year in our HD awareness, we talked about this when on the launch for this month of HD awareness, that people are feeling more hopeful than they ever have before. And so it's a really exciting time to be close to those who can talk about what's happening in the field of HD treatments and possibly a cure as much as we're able to define a cure. If we can delay until late life some of these symptoms, that's a really huge step.
Huge.
So I'd like to ask you a little bit about your experience and how over the years since you first began, how you see the changes in the field of Huntington's care, support, research. Do you have a description for your own journey?
So I see a progression that the HD patient, their caregiver, are being treated more holistically. Maybe more looking at these additional supports in addition to medication, just looking at the whole person. Dr. Lasker, since taking over the clinic, that is when we started the positive psychology, the chaplaincy. He even has a therapy dog now, Dr. Katie, that comes to clinic. So just kind of like taking a step back and looking at the whole picture has been really, really important. Focusing on the psychiatry, making sure symptoms are managed and treated has really been so important.
Yeah. And they talked the other day about focusing on youth, which I am happy to hear
Mhm.
about. So you have young people that are learning about not just the gene being in the family, which is what does mom have or what does dad have, but they're
Right.
learning that they could also have it. So once they can build a community, and this is key, that has enough trust that they're willing to get involved in the kinds of testing and also just the information like HD change, which I don't know about in detail, but I'm familiar enough that they're basically submitting to a lot of questions so that people can begin to understand how symptoms first form, what they look like, how they can be recognized. And
Mhm.
also that if we can really focus, this is a big thing of mine, if we can really focus on the healthy aspects of life, you are going
Yeah.
to be able to delay with good care, good support, and an understanding, I think, of where those early symptoms are. So
Yeah.
that ability to work with young people and get them comfortable and trust, and with the community to say, I'm willing to participate, I think is just giving them a greater chance of just staying in the
Success.
game and, yeah, staying with it.
I think that these newer clinical trials also are bringing people out to get tested because
Mhm.
there's now tangible hope,
Yeah.
right? That maybe I could get on a medication. Maybe I could become part of a clinical trial that
Mhm.
maybe potentially has a cure. I think those things are really enticing to people now because
Yeah.
it's in reach, I think, more than at any other time in this history of HG research.
Yeah. I'm going to talk with Laura O a little bit about how exactly to access clinical trials or to get involved. I think that in my mind, an obstacle, I think it almost feels too overwhelming. Like the family has so much going on that it becomes insurmountable to think that you can commit
Yeah.
to something that feels very foreign and different, and kind of
Right.
clinical.
Yep. It is a commitment, right? It is a commitment and it's not for everyone.
Mhm.
And that's important to understand also that not everyone has the capability to participate in a clinical trial.
Yeah. I think that again, your role becomes so important because you're accessible and
Mhm.
you can maybe recommend some others to talk to that have either been through it or maybe somebody at the clinic
Mhm.
who's able to provide more information. It's just a great way to help people connect, to be this connector from
Mhm.
what can feel very isolating. And because it is a rare disease, to a group that is able to talk the same language and understand each
Mhm.
other. There's also
Yeah.
some kind of fun things you guys do. If you could talk about some of the highlights of the community that you've made possible.
So annually we do a hayride, which has been pretty popular. It's a great night in the fall. Families can come out. PhillyCURE sponsors the event. There's s'mores, roasting marshmallows, and going on a hayride together. That's been really a nice highlight. We also do a caregiver retreat. I am in the midst of planning the next one for July. It's a 4-hour workshop where the caregivers can come and feel community, feel support, learn some relaxation. Somatic therapist runs it. It's just been really wonderful. I am hoping to replicate that for HD patients themselves, and that is also in the progress for this year. Those are really exciting, important things that really bring the community together.
Yeah, and gives them an opportunity to just get to know one another in a more
Mhm.
relaxed way.
Mhm.
There's
And
another event.
yeah, I was gonna say our vice chair, Tom Conselmo, has a kickoff to the summer every year. This year it'll be June 19th. You can purchase tickets. It's a great evening with live music, good food, community. It's a really
Mhm.
awesome. And most recently, they also did a pickleball tournament, which was really fun. I do not play pickleball, but it was really great. Got together and it was called Pickle for a Purpose. It was amazing. So I think that might be back on the agenda for next year because it seemed
Yeah,
to be really well received.
that's a great idea. You just can't underestimate those pickleball players.
Yeah, it's intense. I was impressed.
No, that I could see being a growth opportunity there for fundraising.
Yeah, it's so popular.
I'm curious about the music in June. Did Tom say what the music's going to be this year for the June event?
I am not sure, but I'm sure he has it planned. There's
Okay.
always
I'm going to have to, like, yeah, suss that out. But I think the Mummers Band has been there in the past and has been very
that
popular.
1 year that was very fun. There's been like calypso music. It's been great. Every year a little
Yeah.
bit different, but always fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to talk about here today. Sherry, I so appreciate you coming on. Let's talk a little bit about how the HD Awareness Month is set up. So there's going to be 4 weeks and sort of 4 areas of focus, which if somebody is listening can do what? How do they sign up and get on an email list so that they can find out exactly what's going to be talked about this month?
You can always email me, socialworker@PhillyCureHD.org. What it is HD Awareness Month. Your team, your turf, your time. We have right now teams of people who are fundraising for PhillyCure HD. Sometimes a team will have their own little walk with their family or just purely fundraising and bringing awareness. What they're doing is they set up a page and they send it out to their contacts. Just yesterday, I helped the aunt of somebody set up a page for their family. And she was so excited to get this out to her network because this is their first time experiencing an HD relative and really so enthusiastic about bringing awareness and sharing our materials. It was so nice to see. So in addition to raising money, which is all very important, I think this also is a great way to spread advocacy and awareness, to get the news out that the disease that needs funding and to like shed some light because it's very isolating for people living in the HD community at times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, my takeaway is that these kinds of things do take time. It's not like
Mhm.
a horse race. You're like right out of the gate. You're
Right.
going to be really knocking things like right out of the park. It takes time. And I think that has been just very important. And the whole field has been shifting, again,
Sure.
the attention to Huntington's disease, the increase of different kinds of genetic treatments, everything has been increasing and intensifying. And so with that, PhillyCure HD has gained some new focus. It's building these other layers, which is really helping to connect people to the clinicians and other kinds of
Yeah,
support that are just really important for well-being. It's
absolutely.
Sherry, thank you so much for coming on today. And
Okay.
thank you so much. We'll see you later. You take care. Bye-bye.